What's up, everyone? It's Caddy with Money Vesting. So I hope you guys can see the screen and hear me without any issues. The market on a roll so far with the Nasdaq up over 49 basis points, just about 0.5% pre-market. Good morning. Thank you for joining in. Good morning. Thanks for joining in. I really appreciate your guys' support and thanks for tuning in. So we're going to do some technical analysis on a lot of different stocks. We're going to go over each and every one of those requests that you guys have. Shout out to London Cody. Thanks for joining in. Good morning. Thanks for joining. And so yeah, the market definitely pointing upwards. And we got a lot of stocks like NEO that's up over 1.5% pre-market. We've got Tesla up 21 basis points, so still coming down a little bit. It was up even more than that. It was trading as at $610, so we are down a little bit from the highs, but NEO most certainly. So you guys asking about NEO, up over 1.3%, so trading is at $36.36. We broke out over $34. We broke out over $35 yesterday as well. You look happy today, Carlos. Thank you. I'm happy every day, regardless of what how we're doing. Of course, some days are more challenging than others, but the market's just opened. And we've got the Nasdaq up over 45 basis points, getting a little bit of a dump here as soon as the market's open with some volatility. And S&P 500 is actually up over 24 basis points. And a lot of big tech names are actually up as well on the day. Let's listen in on this very quickly.
Euro stronger, the dollar weaker. Euro dollar out to 122.50 or 22.49.48. Trying to keep up about 0.25% on euro dollar, and crude basically unchanged, a 66 handle, $66 and about 11 cents. That's the cross asset story this Tuesday morning. At the market desk with your movers, here's Abby.
John, let's start out with that area of outperformance that you're highlighting, or big tech. That Nasdaq 100 up for a second day in a row. In fact, that's true for the S&P 500, but big tech really outperforming. You can see Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet all higher, and it appears to have to do with the moderation that we have in rates. We now have the 10-year yield down 4 days in a row. Not a big move down, about 2 or 3 basis points, but enough to take away those valuation concerns. So we see the dip buyers and big tech out. That's true, too, for the airlines. We have some positive news out of United Air. The company is saying that they're seeing a big enough rebound, specifically in their domestic leisure travel, that they now expect to turn an adjusted profit sometime before the end of this year. And the revenue per seat mile flown down 12% in the current quarter versus the estimate of down 20%, making it all much better. So we see sympathy for the group overall flying high. And then we would be remiss if we didn't mention it. Crypto, the wild ride continues. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum are down off the lows, but we also see some of those related stocks as energy concerns around the crypto space continue, but it really is just that crazy volatility, John.
The volatility in that space continues. Happy, thank you. About 90 seconds into the session, up about 1/3 on the S&P 500. Underperforming the utilities, top of the pile, consumer discretionary up about 0.6%. That's the stock story. In the FX market, the dollar weakening for a second straight session, sending the dollar to its lowest level since early January. Goldman's David Kostin writes in quote, "The structural decline of the dollar and the acceleration of global growth should benefit global-facing U.S. companies."
So there we go. The market pushing higher, most certainly seeing a bit of a push on the Nasdaq 100 names. And we've also got cryptos actually, on the other hand, pulling back a little bit, with Bitcoin is down a little bit over 2% right now on the day, and we've got Ethereum down a little bit over 3.8%. By the way, I'm watching Mara and Riot very closely. DraftKings is recovering, so I think, and the DraftKings was trading as $47.40 I think yesterday. Let's take a look at where it's trading today. So across the board, we're seeing very minimal red and a lot of green. So AMD is pretty much flat on the day, still struggling a little bit. Qualcomm, Tesla's up 32 basis points, so just under $610. So we did get that breakout over 590 yesterday. We got Netflix up over 0.5%. We got ARKG. So Neo gave up pretty much a lot of the gains. Amazon's still up close to 1% right now, trading over 32.77. So we're kind of breaking out over that 32.50 levels, Jason. So that could lead to some more continuation for Amazon. By the way, they are also looking into a acquisition of MGM for close to $9 billion. I think they're going to be announcing that today is what I was also looking into. So Amazon said to be near a $9 billion deal to buy MGM Studios is what they could potentially be announcing very soon as well, which competes with Netflix, Disney, and other streaming services. So that's going to be Prime Video that's going to be for Amazon. So that could be a huge catalyst driver for the company. And right now we are just trading shy of 32.79. So my price target for Amazon long term, you guys know it's going to be at close to $4,000. And if you take at even more aggressive valuations, it's at well over $5,000. Is that priced in, or could we see a price drop? That's a great question. I mean, I think it's getting priced in now as we speak, with Amazon being up over 1%. So we'll see if that level continues to hold up. But definitely we're seeing a breakout over 32.50, right? The volume, you want to keep a close eye on that as well, because that's going to be a huge tell on the day whether we see a sustained breakout over that level, or if we kind of roll over and come back down as well. Because the Nasdaq is certainly up 0.5%. So the Nasdaq, of course, needs to kind of stay elevated a little bit for us to continue to move up for the big tech. So Mercado says sell all. Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely risk. There's definitely underlying risk that we have also talked about in our other videos. So one of the videos that I posted yesterday, and another one that I posted today with Ray Dalio, going over some of the macroeconomics and what the economy looks like, and what we can expect in terms of inflation, interest rates, so on and so forth. So all that is very interesting. I mean, I, for one, love studying economics and macroeconomics and how everything kind of intertwines together. I think the only cause for concern I have over the longer term is the public debt. That's the concern that I've also shared with a lot of people is, as we print more and more money, we need a way to finance that debt, and that obviously devalues the US dollar over time even more. And if that continues to happen, there's going to be less and less demand for US debt. So, all right, let's take a look at Shopify. I think Shopify was breaking out over 22%, 23% from $1,000 level support. So we tested those levels from May 12th. We are up another 84 basis points. That's a push of 24%. 1290 is a resistance. We've been range bound for a long time for Shopify, so it's no surprise, that this right here is going to be the resistance to watch. We've kind of hit that level, rejected, come back down to 1,000, push up higher once again, can reject it at 1290. And again, the other side of the MACD are approaching some overbought levels. We're not quite there yet. But Vinay, you want to make sure that you keep a close eye at those technical indicators. And of course, watch 1290 as the next resistance for Shopify. We're just a little bit shy of that resistance today. So Mara is down. Let's take a look. So this right here is going to be MARA down a little bit over 4% as Bitcoin sells off a little bit over 3%, just trading under $38,000. It's been so volatile, right? Cryptocurrencies more specifically have been so volatile. Ethereum down about 4%. We've got Dogecoin also down a little bit over 5.68%. And QQQ pulling back a little bit. So it's no surprises there. And S&P 500 is also up a little bit over 29 basis points. So all right, let's take a look at the markets here. So the yields are down 0.74%, trading just under 1.6 now. Yesterday, I think the high for yesterday was 1.628, so we have come down quite a bit. The resistance is at 1.772, close to 1.775, I would say, for the yields. Gold price is pushing higher just a notch, over 8 basis points. The VIX, the volatility, seeing a little bit of a push higher here. Came down to 16.9, so not quite 16 levels, but we are still pretty elevated, I would say, from historical measures, right? So that right there is going to be the VIX, and they move in opposite directions to the S&P 500. So, we tested as of 24.4, we tested as of 20 levels before breaking down below 20. Once again, after these are pre-pandemic levels. So before the pandemic, we were kind of getting tested out at 24, 25. And we came back down, and this right here was a huge spike in the VIX. One Fast Esther, thank you so much for joining in. Great to see you too this morning. And again, that right there was the huge volatility spike, and we have seen those spikes once again. But right now the volatility is coming down. But June again, this week, like I said, I could see some more green this week. This week could be like one of those weeks which we close green. But next week, you want to keep a close eye on some of that economic data that's going to come out. So, for first Friday of the month, we've got on June 4th, we've got the unemployment numbers that are going to come out. We've got the CPI data that's coming out the following week on June 10th, and then after that, we've got the FOMC meeting between June 12th and 13th. So all of that is going to be very, very critical for the month of June And later this week on Thursday, we've got the GDP numbers and the jobless claims also coming out, which are potentially going to get priced in the markets as well. So, we could see some green this week, but following week, we want to be very cautious and be mindful of these spikes on the volatility and the VIX as well. So 16 is going to be the support level to watch. 20 is going to be a more near-term resistance, as 24.5 moving forward. So let's take a look at some stocks here. So we got Plug Power that's down 15 basis points. Basically trading still inside this downtrending channel. 27.18 is the level to watch. Twitter seeing a bit of a pullback here after getting a breakout over $53 a couple days back. AMD now in the red. Once again, AMD just over $77, but we are slightly over 39 basis points in the red. Nano Dimensions is flat on the day, so 662 is going to be the level that we are kind of watching for that stock. It's going to be a resistance there to see if you actually get a breakout over that level. 653 is the high for the day today. QuantumScape flat on the day. We got Nvidia that's down about 15 basis points, and Nvidia was also up, I think, 2% pre-market. We tested as of 632, so we're seeing a lot of stocks kind of roll over, after the open. But yesterday was quite a bit of a green day, right? Nasdaq rallied, I think, over 1.4%. So we definitely saw a lot of momentum there. Procter & Gamble down about 58 basis points. We got Enphase Energy that's up over 28 basis points. So I got destroyed by Ride. Lordstown Motors should have sold when it spiked last week. By the way, yeah, I can actually take a look at Ride and see what they reported in terms of those earnings, right? So they were going to be reporting their earnings yesterday. So Lordstown Motor cuts full year production guidance by half while seeking additional funding as costs exceed expectations. That's not a great headline that you want to see. Where is it trading right now? Oh wow, it's down over 15% for Lordstown Motors. So reported 72 cents loss versus estimated 28 cents. So that was a huge miss there. NIO running, that's great. We'll take a look at that very quickly. But Lordstown Motors electric duty truck company has cut its output forecast for the full year 2021 by half and said that the pace. So NIO breaking out over $37. That's incredible. That's my alert going off. We'll kind of circle back to NIO in just a second. I just want to quickly go over this very quickly. But that's a great alert for NIO breaking out over 37. That's huge. So discussion asset-backed financing opportunity that it's a preliminary stage according to Capital IQ. Lordstown has restricted production because its costs have exceeded prior expectations in the 3 months ended in March 31st. Operating expenses surged to $106.2 million from almost $12 million a year ago. So we'll go over Boeing as well in just a second. Looking at for the full year, the company is forecasting $55 million to $60 million in selling, SG&A expenses, and $280 to $290 million in R&D. That compares with $40 million, $45 million in SG&A, and between $180 $190 million in R&D alongside the company's fourth quarter results. So quarter over quarter, we're seeing that increase, and the firm netted a loss of 72 cents per share in the first quarter with 16 cents per share loss a year ago, and missed that 28 cents per loss estimate. That was the expectations, and projected a revenue loss per share of about $2.05 to $2.15 for the full year 2021. So yeah, that's not a very solid headline. And of course, in this market, if you are missing guidance, if you're cutting production, the market is absolutely going to punish you for that. Let's take a look at NIO. So NIO's up over 4%. How did that happen? I thought it was down like 29 basis points. Look at the volume surge here for NIO. Look at that volume surge in NIO. So we're already at almost 10 million shares for NIO. That's incredible. So we broke out over 34, we broke out over 35. That's the support that we were watching, and we're now up over 4%. All of a sudden, this happened like in a matter of like 10 minutes, not even, like since 9:35, and it's 9:43 a.m. Eastern, so like in a matter of like 8 minutes, NIO pushed up quite a bit. So we're seeing from $36 lows, that's a 4% push for NIO. And I think there was like a string of other negative catalysts that came in. And I think Cramer also mentioned that sell Tesla to buy NIO. I think he mentioned in Mad Money yesterday. I think people are doing the opposite of what he mentioned. But again, we talked about the renewal with manufacturing arrangements, increasing capacity to 240,000 vehicles, and a lot of rising demand for NEO and how they're keeping up with that. But most certainly, this is incredible. A lot of buying pressure on the 1 minute chart as well. This was the same exact pattern that we saw for NEO for yesterday, if you guys remember correctly. So like yesterday we saw a morning pullback. So if I were to kind of go back very quickly, so this was almost identical pattern. I don't know if it's going to follow through rest of the day, and if we're going to see some more upside here, potentially we could. But this right here, exact same pattern for NEO, right? As soon as the markets opened, we saw the pullback, traded as low as 33.64, and then a lot of buyers stepped in to break us out over high of day to over 34.67. We had a couple of pullbacks here, validated those moving averages before hitting high of days even further, and continued to look at this. The trend on the day just continued to push up higher. And what was the volume like yesterday? I think it was slightly lower than the average 10-day volume. So actually this, I'm going to very quickly bring this up very
the more you might say, I'd rather have Bitcoin than the bond. Personally, I'd rather have Bitcoin than a bond.
I'm not sure if you'd agree with that. That was Bridgewater's Ray Dalio from the CoinDesk Consensus Conference. Just getting some breaking news across the Bloomberg that the Putin-Biden meeting will take place in Geneva June 15th, 16th. Some confirmation of that after CNN reported it a little bit earlier this morning. So your date, June 15th, 16th. Your location, Geneva. The President of the United States and his overseas trip, his first overseas trip next month, gets a little bit busier.
So yeah, that was Ray Dalio's interview that I also broke down with CoinDesk that we talked about. But look at NEO, you guys. So if you're gonna see a breakout over 50 EMA, that's the yellow line you guys see on the chart. That's gonna be the first time we see that for NEO, a successful breakout in a very long time. This is gonna be like a 3-month breakout, because we're coming from back in February, right? So February, March, April, and almost May, which is almost ended, almost 4 months. NEO has traded below its moving average, right? The 50 EMA. So successful breakout over 38.50, that's sitting exactly at that resistance, right? So if I were to kind of bring up the other chart, the white chart that we have, so we're gonna go over this white chart for the daily. You'll notice that 38.50, the 50 EMA, that's exactly where we're sitting for NEO. That's the resistance, right? That's the near-term, more important resistance that we need to watch before we can get a breakout over $40, right? So 38.50, 38.56, call it that level, right there. So inside that red circle is going to be the 21, is going to be the 50 EMA. So that's the purple line or blue line, call it dark blue line, and the 200 simple moving average and that resistance. So high for the day, 37.50. We only got about $1 left for us to see a breakout over 38.50 levels and break out over that 50 EMA. So very, very interesting if we're going to see that actually happen. Let's take a look at where Tesla's trading. So Tesla's still below the moving averages. $620 is the resistance, kind of aligned with that 21 EMA. That's a level that we have talked about, quite consistently on the channel. And we'll see if we actually get a breakout over that level or not, right? So $620 is the resistance on the day. By the way, let's start our notepad very quickly. So Tesla, we'll talk support at 590 to 600, call it 590 for Tesla, and resistance 620 on the day that it needs to kind of get a breakout over. NEO support at 34, resistance at 38.50. Let's see if we can actually get a breakout over that resistance. So XPeng is even better. Let's take a look at XPeng. So you'll also notice that 21 EMA, we're getting tagged at that support, right? So 21 EMA, that's the white line, 35.89, and the low for the day, 35.90. So we're almost 1 cent shy of that 21 exponential moving average before the buyers stepped in. So, if I were to point that out very quickly, you'll notice that previously we have gone rejected at that 21 EMA. That's the white line you see on the chart. Once here, twice here, and now people are seeing that as a new resistance for NEO. But let's take a look at XPeng. XPeng seeing a bit of a breakout here. So 29.61 breakout. Yep, so we're seeing that breakout for XPeng as well, up over 4%, very similar to NEO. Let's actually go to our EV watch list, right? So we can get a good understanding what's going on. So NEO, XPeng charging on the day, up over 4% across the board for EV stocks, with GM is up over 2%, Ford is up over 1.68. Li Auto is up over 1.68. Workhorse up 90 basis points. CCIV, Nikola, ChargePoint, Tesla, they're all pretty much flat on the day, up over 40, 50 basis points. And then we have Ride also up, actually down on earnings that we broke down earlier, a little bit over 14%. But NIO, super excited about the move here, up over 4.5% now, 37.53, hitting high of days. 30.56, that's the level. That's the level. What do you guys think? Are we going to get a breakout over that level today? Or if this is something that is potentially going to come in the future, but not today. What do you guys think? Let me know in the live chat if you guys think we're going to get a breakout over 38.50. Let me see if I can pull up let me see if I can pull up that comment that I was able to find from Jim Cramer that he posted on LinkedIn. I believe as soon as I opened LinkedIn, that was the first thing I saw with Cramer Mad Money yesterday saying don't buy NIO, in fact sell NIO to buy Tesla. That was pretty interesting read. So all right, let me pull that up very quickly, see if I can find that article. So, all right, let me see if I can find that article here. So, all right, so Cramer's lightning round. That's the one that we're looking for. So this is the lightning round, folks, for Cramer. So, all right, so Visa, he says, I can't believe that I'm actually going to recommend Vail. Actually, that's Vail. Vail is a materials company. It's I think they provide a lot of different transportation for materials. So it's like a reopening play and the play on infrastructure bill as well. But nonetheless, I'm going to recommend it because I just think it's a multi-year move. NIO, here's what he says. You should be switching. You should be in Tesla. Remember the piece that we did in Larry Williams a couple of weeks ago, which said that this is the single best time to buy Tesla right here, right now. That's what you're going to do tomorrow. Interesting. So that was the lightning round, and that's what he said about NIO. But nonetheless, we're up over 4%. 30.50 is the level on the day to watch. So Lily says, "Oh my God, NIO is flying." Yes, it is. It is flying. So definitely seeing that momentum intraday as well. So if you look at the 5-minute chart, we should see some consolidation for NIO. Like we're seeing a little bit of a pullback here. Let me see if I can bring up some of the other moving averages. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing some type of a pullback. Where's the VWAPs? All right, it's right there. Yeah, so we saw breakout high of day, 37.64. I wouldn't be surprised if we do come down to maybe like $37, 37 or 36.85, so to speak, kind of like aligned with this middle VWAP in yellow you guys see, kind of consolidate there, and then make the next leg up higher intraday to see if we can actually get the high of day. Nasdaq's weaknesses coming through, so this right here is going to be the Nasdaq. Ooh, SPY with the sell-off here on the day, you guys. Intraday down up over 3 basis points only, so pretty much flat on the day with the Nasdaq weakness also showing with a sell-off. So we're down to being up just about 17 basis points. So let's take a look at Palantir. Palantir also seeing that momentum up over 2.5%, so that's great. That's phenomenal. They actually won an award yesterday with the U.S. Air Force for about $32.5 million, which we also broke down in one of our other videos. So Palantir Technologies to provide U.S. Space Force, Air Force with software for $32.5 million US dollars. So that was a pretty big deal because that's not a small amount for Palantir. And as they continue to kind of win these multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts, that's going to bode well for the top-line revenues. And Palantir in general has a very sticky business, right? Once you're in Palantir's system, when you're in that ecosystem, and you're using Palantir's Foundry, Gotham products, whatever the case may be, you know, that bodes well for the long-term success for the company, right? It's a win-win situation for both the customer and Palantir in general. Everything goes down now, haha, bull trap. So we'll see. Bull trap could very well be a bull trap too, right? Because the volume is going to be the big tell, and the Nasdaq is already showing signs of weakness here on the day. By the way, if you guys did get a chance to watch the macro analysis video that we did, like Ray Dalio mentioning about things, and we also talked about inflation data, we also talked about a lot of different things. I would love to know what you guys think, because the more feedback I get, the better it's going to be for all of us to gather more insight and really understand what the future holds, like in 2021 especially, right? And from moving forward, I'm going to do my best to respond to every single comment, like in the YouTube. So that's something that I am going to do religiously now, consistently, every single video that I put out. So you will get a reply from me every time if you comment on the YouTube videos. So I'll probably do that as well, but definitely feel free to share more insight, more analysis. I found a great comment from somebody else who works in the electrical engineering business, and they basically said because of the rising prices, people are not even ordering their services anymore. So they're basically foregoing all of that because of the increased prices. So, you know, that is one of the ways that we could potentially get into some type of cost control where prices get to like these extravagant levels. You know, you get people, consumers kind of shy away from actually spending money because of how high prices have gone, right? Same with lumber prices, like, you know, they've gone up to a point where people are going to start refraining from actually building houses or even buying, because, you know, you're seeing thousands of dollars going over asking price. It's pretty crazy, like, if you think about it, right? We're in a market where people are just, there's so many bids and so many you know, buyers coming into the marketplace, and it's just almost impossible to get your hands on a house right now. If you are someone who's a real estate investor, it's so difficult. So Harry says, I bet Dalio is shorting bonds. Yeah, he's not a big advocate about bonds. He's always been, you know, cash is trash and stay away from bonds and things like that because of the inflation that he's, you know, it's eating away on your buying power and your purchasing power in the United States. You know, 4.2% is nothing small, but the real question is whether that's going to curl back down. Is it transitory, like the Fed keeps reminding us, or whether it's more of a permanent issue that we see inflation kind of creep up and higher. So, Raz, thank you so much for joining. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Vishal, thank you so much for joining from Panama. Shout out to Panama. But NEO up over 4% on the day. Let me actually break this split screen up here and put Tesla as well, so we can take a look at that. So Tesla now red, down unfortunately, is over 36 basis points, and a lot of stocks actually turned red here. With NEO up over 3.6%, so that's a bit of a pullback on the 1 minute for NEO. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if you do get a retest of that middle VWAP sitting under $37 or close to $37 before we kind of see that rally even further. But nonetheless, we're seeing AMC is up close to 4%, trading over $14. Risky, thank you so much for joining from Indonesia. Shout out to you. So much volatility, I love it. Yeah, that's a lot of volatility there for the VIX. We're still pretty down, below 19, below 20 levels, so we'll see if that actually do get elevated a little bit or not. But GME, GameStop is up over 4%, AMC is up over 4%, NEO is up almost 4%, Palantir is up over 2.6%, and then we've got Square that's up over 1.28%. Let's go over to our main watch list here. So Square, massive drop on the 5-minute candle here, down about 1%, right at 950. I think that was the same pattern that we saw for the S&P as well, and the Nasdaq that we saw a big drop at around 9:45, 9:50 a.m. Eastern. But nonetheless, I mean, Square is still up on the day, up over 1%. DraftKings, look at DraftKings, back up to almost $50 a share. We covered this stock over the weekend. We covered Square, Advanced Micro Devices, Fiverr, and there was one more stock, Coinbase. Actually, I'm interested in looking into where Coinbase is trading. But DraftKings definitely had some type of a head and shoulders pattern. It broke down below the neckline, became oversold. $41 was like an incredible buying opportunity for the long term here for DraftKings. And now we're seeing that recovery back up to over $50 per share, potentially as well. But let's take a look at Coinbase. So Coinbase, pushing up over 3.6%, so we are still range bound, but we are definitely seeing a little bit of a push higher on the day. It's kind of a strange day where we have like a lot of these stocks that continue to underperform the markets, like Palantir, NEO, Coinbase. some of those companies that have consistently been beaten down, they're the ones actually pushing higher, over 3.5%, close to 4%. And when you have other stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, they're coming down as well. But Amazon is up 32.61, although we are down off the highs a little bit. And then Square, Facebook, Spotify, they're still pretty much elevated a little bit in the green. Cryptos, Bitcoin is down over 3.43%. Mara, it's one of the stocks that I'm watching very closely this week. It's also down about 3%. And we got Ethereum down over 4%. And Dogecoin is also a little bit over 6.5% on the day. So cryptos have just been on a full tilt here. The volatility in cryptocurrencies is just absolutely astronomical. Like, I've never seen anything like it, honestly. Like, this is I think the most volatile asset class there is the crypto market. And of course, you can pile on, leverage, and I don't know if you can actually do options on cryptos. I don't think you can, but the volatility is just absolutely incredible. Like, you in a 5 or 20 minute period, like in a 20-minute period, we can see cryptos, more specifically Bitcoin, shave off like $100 billion market cap, $200 billion market cap, and actually gain that much back in the same amount of time. So why are you watching Mara this week? That's a great question. So the reason I'm watching it, because in India, there's no certainty about crypto bans that are potentially going to be at play in the future. So I'm actually refraining from buying actual cryptocurrencies. I do want to get a little bit of exposure. So Mara, Riot, some of those companies like MicroStrategy, those are going to be some stocks that I'm watching to get a potential exposure in this. I do have a position in Mara. I think my average cost is around $22. Here, let me see if I can check that very quickly. And I sent out the alert in Discord yesterday. And yeah, my average cost is at $22, and so $22.03 is my average on Mara, with about 30 shares right now. I'll be adding more. I do plan on building a much bigger position in Mara, but because I do see a lot of upside in this stock right now. It's because of the sell that we've seen in cryptos. This has been a drop for the stock a little bit over 65%, because Bitcoin has come down from $65,000, and if it continues to kind of trade below $20, that'll be kind of like my aggressive buy point for MARA if we come down below $20. So that's great. Average is $20. That's awesome. All right, so let's start the notepad going. All right, so we already talked about Tesla, 590 support, 620 resistance, and then NEO, $34 and 30.50 is going to be the resistance here. What other stocks are we watching? What other stocks are you going to be watching very closely? Let me know in the live chat if you guys want to recommend any stocks that we can go over very quickly. But right now I'm watching Bloomberg. They're putting it as Tech Tuesday. And U.S. Consumer Confidence Index came in at 117.2. Very quickly, we're going to listen on this.
We're getting right now. New home sales out of the United States coming in a little shy. The previous number revised a little lower as well. The million before revised down to 917. The current number, 863. The market was looking for 950. These are all thousands, obviously. And in terms of the rate month on month, 5.9%. Now, that's dipped down from the crazy number before, which was 20.7. We are starting to see the new home sales market maybe being a little capacity constrained. Can you get lumber? Can you get concrete? All the kind of stuff you need to build houses. In terms of consumer confidence, the Conference Board data out as well, just coming down a little bit, 117.2 down from the 121.7. That's a little shy. Present situation's better. It's the expectations number that seems to have dipped a little bit. All of this obviously being factored into the Fed conversation we're having right now. Let's kind of bring it all together. Bloomberg's international economics and policy correspondent, Mike McKee, is here to do all of that for us. Mike.
Well, Guy, it's a little hard to interpret the new home sales numbers, although they do follow the existing home sales numbers and coming in a little shy of where we expected them to be. But as you pointed out, there was a revision to the prior month. They revised the number down, and so the drop was not as bad as we thought. But here's the important thing. Take a look at the right side of that graph there. You can see that home sales still well above the pre-pandemic level. And so we are making progress. But as you mentioned, we are probably somewhat capacity constrained at this point. Interesting news earlier today, of course, on homes was the price levels. The S&P Case-Shiller CoreLogic numbers up on a year-over-year basis by 13.3%. That's the biggest jump since 2005. The FHFA puts out its own numbers, and it was up as well by almost 14%. Now, the interesting question is this inflationary? Well, you take a look at the line at the bottom of that chart. That's home prices in the CPI. The reason is they ask you what you think your home would rent for. They don't put actual prices into it. So if that ever starts to go up, then the Fed has a problem. And then the numbers on consumer confidence, as you suggest, are strong. They're coming up. But the question is, are we going to see demand for wages rise, or at least a feeling that wages are going to have to rise? That was one of the big problems we had in the 1960s and 70s. And as you can see, the number of people who want or who think we're going to need to get higher wages coming up, but not as much as they could at this point. It's a number to keep an eye on.
Good stuff. All right, Mike, thanks a lot. Bloomberg's Mike.
So interesting stuff there with the home sales. And you know, Ray Dalio has also mentioned there's two different types of inflation. There's one that is actual demand pull inflation, where demand outstrips supply, consumer prices go up. But in his case, there's more going to be like monetary inflation, where asset valuations, asset prices actually go up in general because of the low cost of debt, and the cost of borrowing is very, very low. So interest rates staying low, a lot of people are able to borrow money, hence prices are moving up. But one of the things that they mentioned is the rent roll that they think that they can generate with the houses they currently own. That's still at a very, very low level. If that starts going up, then is what they mentioned that Fed could have a problem in the future. All right, so starting with Coinbase very quickly. So Coinbase, their support is going to be $208. This again is somewhat of a crypto play in my opinion. Long term, has a lot of potential. They just need to figure out how to cross-sell, upsell other services to their existing consumers, millions of consumers that they have. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but eventually that's what Wall Street is betting their money on, because over time, as competition comes in, their transaction revenue is also potentially going to drop down to zero, because we've learned how in the equities market, when we had these previous trading commissions where you had to like pay $4, $5 commissions every time you place a trade, buy or sell, that has come down to $0 because of the introduction made by Robinhood, and then other brokerages following suit as well. So same thing could happen with Coinbase, and you would basically be paying nothing to buy and sell cryptos in the future, potentially. And if that happens, they need to figure out a way to basically upsell and cross-sell other products and services. Could be in lending, could be in credit, could be in checking and savings account, whatever the case may be. So like a pure fintech play. But $208 support, $250 resistance to watch for Coinbase moving forward. So quick update on the market. So again, we are seeing pullbacks here for the market. So the Nasdaq is up only 17 or 18 basis points, and the S&P 500 is pretty much flat on the day, with the NEO now up only 2.7%, and Tesla is now in the red, down about 0.5% almost, but still staying above $600 per share. That's the level that we're going to be watching as a support for Tesla very closely. Across the board, we're seeing a bit of a pullback here, and more stocks are actually turning red. So we're seeing that roll over in equities right now. So next up, let's talk about XPeng. So there you go. XPeng, so much selling, getting rejected at that 50 EMA at close to $30.50, and we're now back below $29.60 or $29 level. So we're up only about 1.5%. So the 1 minute chart will probably be very, very scary for XPeng. So you'll notice huge rally and then a massive rollover and a lot of selling pressure coming in for XPeng as well. So NDX is finally turning around. We'll kind of look at that very closely in just a second. But 29.65, 29.75, that right there is going to be the resistance to watch intraday for XPeng. And support level is going to stay put at close to $27. So resistance is going to stay put at 29.75 for XPeng moving forward. And let's go over to, this was Boeing. So let's go over to Boeing first. So Boeing definitely seeing a breakout over that level. So if I go over to the weekly chart for Boeing, this right here was the complete analysis. You'll notice that there are actually two different uptrends that are forming. The first one is the higher highs here and the higher lows represented by this line. So we're seeing that red line being the higher high, the green line being the higher low. And if we do get a break outside of this uptrending channel, there are also going to be these dotted lines that Boeing has validated in the past. So on the daily chart, you'll notice that we did come down to validate this dotted line. Retested that support at close to $216, $217 per share before starting to push up higher, and we're seeing that breakout over the moving averages. So, there's definitely more upside for Boeing in the future, in my opinion, with the RSI also pushing higher, the MACD also crossed over the signal line. So keep a close eye at this support at close to $220, and the resistance in the near term is going to be sitting roughly actually close to $243, previous resistance here. So that right there is the level that we're going to be watching. So, if I were to kind of draw this line across the board, that right there is the resistance that Boeing is, kind of retesting at the moment, previous resistance, and that right there is going to be the level to watch. Successful breakout over like $242, $243, if you can hold up above that level, is going to bode well for Boeing for us to see some more upside potentially in the future. So 220 support, resistance at 242 on the day. So Boeing is red hot, Tesla back up on the move. Let's take a look. So wow, Tesla is down just about 4 basis points, and NIO back over 37.17. So we did get a retest of below $37, kind of like the middle VWAP. If you go back over on that chart on the 5 minutes, so you'll notice that we did come down. Right. So we did come down to that middle VWAP for NIO before the buyers kind of stepped in once again. And that's good because we want to stay above the moving averages and want to stay above that middle VWAP as well for us to see continued upwards momentum on the day. Tech strong, baby, let's go. Yeah, Jason, that's awesome. So a lot of Palantir still up over 1.9, close to 2%, Square, Facebook, Corsair, Amazon. But Apple turned red below 127, just literally at 127 right now for Apple. Netflix is down, Visa's down, and Fubo TV is slightly up 1% on the day. But all right, on to the next one. So, all right, is the letter S is highlighted in orange in all of the chat conversations? Letter S, I'm not sure what you mean by letter S. Yeah, I'm not sure if letter S is highlighted in the chat, but let us know what you mean by that. But anyway, so going over to TSM. So TSM is up a little bit over 85 basis points. So we are getting a bit of a breakout here over $113 and a breakout over this lower high pattern. So we were forming lower highs and lower lows consistently for TSM as well. So $107 was a support, but 113 is going to be the new support to watch since we are getting a breakout over that level. And you'll notice that we are also trading above that 21 exponential moving average. So yeah, this is the first time in a very long time that TSM is trading above that level, right? So $113.94, perfect retest of that level, $114 level on the day. So keep a close eye at $113 support for TSM, so $113. And resistance is going to stay put at this 50 EMA right now in the near term, which is going to be sitting roughly $116. All right, so let's go over to Alibaba. So Baba, no doubt it's still very, very undervalued for the price that it's trading at, and when you compare that with the core underlying business, $210 support that we have talked about in our previous live streams, and $230 resistance for Alibaba. Still consolidating sideways. We validated $210, $11 for quite some time, and if you were to look at the RSI, the MACD, there's no doubt that there is a very, very oversold levels, and from a technical standpoint, it would make sense why Alibaba should push up. But again, it's just the regulatory issues, the consistent fines, and the scrutiny over in China keeps it way, way undervalued still. Even though, in my opinion, this is a stock that could easily be at well over $300 per share, simply based on the fundamentals, right? When you look at the core business, but it's the external regulatory issues that keep this stock much, much lower than what it's worth. So for Alibaba, keep a close eye at support at 210, and the resistance is going to stay put at $230. But the technicals do suggest that we could see some more upside here in the short term, potentially a retest of as high as $225 or $230. All right, so next stock on the list is going to be Fubo TV, which is going to be actually on this one. So crypto is pushing higher, down only 2.6% right now. And Ethereum is also down a little bit over 2.3%, with Dogecoin down 5.5%. And Mara is also pushing higher a little bit, down just about 2% on the day. But let's go over to Fubo TV. All right, let's listen on this very quickly.
Power, the areas that are going to be left behind. What does the flip side of that trade look like?
The flip side of that trade is exactly as you said, companies with no pricing power. Because if you think about what Amazon did, it changed the way we shop. It's a price comparison website. TVs, white goods, very little ability to pass through price. I was speaking to a company in Waltham, Massachusetts last Friday, and the CEO said to me, I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I just need to ask you, what am I going to do about the price of my steel? What am I doing about copper? What am I doing about my magnets? And so this is top of mind for every CEO. So you want companies with high inflation pass-through rates.
So give me some examples. So give me like a pair trade that you have.
We would be short Electrolux here. These are companies that are on peak multiples and, in our opinion, peak margins with very little ability to pass through that inflation rate. So, yes, you have a great order book, but if it's not accretive, it's not going to move your needle.
A lot of people will look to the energy transition trade and say, I can play it through a passive ETF, an ESG ETF. Right or wrong?
Wrong. So that's probably the most contrarian thing I'm doing right now. ESG, in my opinion, is active. It is not passive. I don't want anything to do with a benchmark. I'm the opposite of the benchmark. The opportunity is going into companies that are putting their CapEx into decarbonizing heavy industry. That's where the real opportunity is. That's where the growth is, and that's what's cheap.
So does that mean that you need to go buy Freeport to play that, or are there more intricate ways to play the ESG plus the decarbonization metals theme?
There are tons of ways. So if you look at like a Vulcan Energy, the first carbon neutral lithium company in the world. If you look at SSAB, who's going to make fossil-free steel in 2026. If you look at a company like Foran, which announced a $100 million private placement just this morning from Fairfax Financial. That's
All right, let's go back and circle back to some of the stocks. So Fubo TV fighting that resistance at $23. That's the level I would be watching very closely. Support at $17, and we could potentially be seeing some type of a trend reversal forming for Fubo TV as the RSI continues to push up higher as well. We were incredibly oversold, and now we're seeing a bit of a push higher here. And if I were to kind of point out some type of a bull flag as well for Fubo TV, you'll notice that this right here is the prior run-up. So strong run-up higher for Fubo TV here. So that's going to be the prior run-up coming in from lows of $14.70, close to $14 per share. And now we're just trading sideways in between this range. So, if you were to look at this, this could be a bull flag forming, and we could see a breakout over $23. That's going to be the level to watch if the volume picks up for Fubo TV, right? So $23 resistance to watch, support at close to 17, and resistance at $23 that we need to get a breakout over for Fubo TV to get a successful continuation and a trend reversal moving forward. All right, next one on the list is going to be CRSP. That's going to be CRISPR Therapeutics, I believe. Actually, the chart is going to be over here. So CRISPR Therapeutics, we had some type of a uptrending pattern here. So we were forming higher highs and higher lows before we broke it down below that level. So broke down below the moving averages. And now support level is going to be this one at close to $112 because we're breaking out and trading above that level. So I'll go ahead and turn this level back into a support to watch for CRISPR Therapeutics, all the way as low as $98. And the resistance is going to stay put at two levels. The first one is going to be aligned with that 50 EMA, sitting roughly at $116, all the way as high as this $136, $137 per share, double bottom or double top resistance for CRISPR Therapeutics. Once here, twice here, we got rejected at that level as well. So CRISPR Therapeutics will keep that support intact at 112 and resistance at 137, all the way as high as actually 116 first. So $116 all the way as high as 136. All right, let's talk about Palantir very quickly. Is it still pushing higher? So we're still up over 2.3%. And this right here is the downtrending channel, right? Lower highs and lower lows being formed. We're seeing that continuation after $21 validated and turned into a support for Palantir stock. And moving forward, $22.50 is going to be the level to watch as a resistance on the day. So we were just shy of $22 today, but $22.50 is going to be the resistance to watch right there. So I'll go ahead and turn that level support at 21, resistance at 22.50 for Palantir. And the breakout over that level, the next resistance to watch is going to be sitting roughly at $25, 25.30 levels. Previous resistance aligned with this resistance as well. All right, quick market check. So we've got on the day, we've got industrials up over 25 basis points, real estate 16, financials, consumer discretionary, cyclicals up. So we just had a little bit of a turnaround here. Industrials now leading, charging the S&P higher with real estate, and technology is actually down on the day as it shows. Let me see if that's actually true. So Deepinder, we actually covered Alibaba earlier. So if you want to kind of scroll back a little bit, you'll be able to see Alibaba's analysis. But nonetheless, we've got the NASDAQ up over 23 basis points and the S&P pretty much flat on the day. And Facebook, Amazon, AMD, got PayPal, so I'm not sure why. Let's look at the one-day chart here. All right, so technology on the one day, including pre-market, I think that was just like as soon as the market's open. But industrials, technology kind of leading here with consumer discretionary, financials behind, and energy, utilities, and the yields. So those are three sectors that are pretty much down over here. We got materials pretty much down about 70 basis points, and then we got a lot of different sectors here in the middle that include, consumer staples, real estate, healthcare, technology, and then industrials and financials are actually leading on the day for the S&P moving higher. So, all right, Apple, quick update on that. 127, we're kind of fighting that level, so $127 and that two moving averages. So if I remove these trend lines, so you'll notice 21 EMA, 50 EMA, we're just consistently kind of fighting that resistance for Apple stock as well. I think they also concluded Epic versus Apple, and they're going to be announcing the actual result in August. So at Epic versus Apple's closing, judge probes implications of upending Apple's App Store. So federal judge Rogers held unconventional closing arguments Monday in antitrust trial between Epic Games and Apple, peppering both sides' attorneys for 3 hours about how far she could and should go to change Apple's App Store business. So they hinted sharp questions about Apple. So let's be clear, Epic is here because if relief is granted, it goes from being a multi-billion-dollar company to multi-trillion-dollar company, but it's not doing it out of the goodness of its heart. So nothing's been finalized yet. We're going to learn more about it. So Apple wants to keep its product differentiated. Apple attorney Veronica Moy said, and everyone is free to go out and buy an Android device. To make her decision, the judge will have to wade through 4,500 pages of testimony, a process she said could take months. So again, the case is closed, but no judgment has been finalized yet. It's going to take another few months until she kind of reads through pages and pages of testimony. But as I've mentioned earlier, if Apple's core business, which is more specifically the App Store business, right, services, comes under services, which generates close to about $20 billion every single year. So I think it's $4 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion, $5 billion in Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 of fiscal year 2020. So roughly $20 billion. It's higher margin business. It's incredibly high margins because all they have to really pay for is the operation cost. Because of 1 billion install base that Apple has. So every app developer, software developer needs access to that market when they are building a game, such as Fortnite for Epic Games. So if that actually does take any type of a hit, whether 30% comes down to 15%, or we see some type of rerouting where App Store developers have to use a third-party payment provider within the app, where people or consumers, when they download the app, they go to another third-party service to pay for Fortnite or whatever the case may be, where Apple doesn't get the bottom line here. That's going to be a huge repricing, in my opinion, for Apple's valuation. So right now we're just sitting at just over $2 trillion. So that's why it's important for us to monitor this very closely, right? What the judgment is with this case. But nonetheless, NIO coming down a little bit. We're up over 3% still though, and Tesla is down about 0.5%. If you look at some of those EV stocks, we're pulling back with NIO is the one that's up on the day, with XPeng up only 1.65%, GM up over 1.2%, and more of them are actually turning red. And let's take a look at some of those growth stocks here very quickly. So Etsy, BNGO, they're up on the day 2.3%, 1.8% each. Nano Dimensions is up over 2.2%. Corsair Gaming pretty much flat on the day. Dropbox is up over 0.5%. And we've got CrowdStrike that's up over 37 basis points, and then a lot of stocks that are in the red with Okta. I think they're reporting earnings tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, for Okta. And then Domino's, Mara, Inside CVS, pretty much everything else in the red. So a lot of consolidation for SPY and QQQs. We're just going sideways now, back and forth, but still trading at low of days. And let's move on to other stocks here. So AMD, I'm gonna put that, I already know this by heart, $74 support. Resistance is gonna stay put at $84 for AMD. Virgin Galactic, SPCE. I think yesterday it had a really strong day. A lot of volume after the third successful flight. So the resistance for Virgin Galactic is going to be sitting roughly at these levels at close to 27.59. The reason again is going to be previous resistance. We got rejected coming in from like December, which turned into a double bottom support here. So, you know, validated support a couple times at these levels. So in my opinion, that right there is going to be the level to watch, even though we did get a breakout over those moving averages. So that's good. That's some type of a trend reversal that we are seeing for Virgin Galactic. And the R side, the MACD also, you know, massive move higher. And now we're seeing a bit of a pullback after being a little bit on the overbought side. So keep a close eye at 27.60, 27.59 levels for Virgin Galactic, and the support is going to be those moving averages. The first one at 25.50 levels, all the way as low as $21 per share for SPCE. So support at $21, another support at close to 25.50, and resistance is going to stay put at the very level where we're trading at close to 27.60 levels. So SPCE will continue dropping about a put. Yeah, so that right there is going to be a resistance. We got rejected yesterday, and even today we're just fighting that level. So if you do get a failed breakout, if there's consistent resistance, validates, considering the RSI and the MACD are also near overbought levels, wouldn't be surprised if you do get a retest of lows of $25, maybe as low as $21 per share for Virgin Galactic moving forward. All right, so CRISPR Therapeutics, we were also analyzing this. I'm not sure if actually we did, right? Maybe we didn't. So yep, we already did. CRISPR Therapeutics. Let's go over to Delta. So Delta Airlines pushing up over 2.95%. Let me see if there's a catalyst on here. So Delta says must remove Aero Mexico codes if U.S. downgrades Mexico air safety rating. This came out today on May 24th. So to add flight connectivity to over 230 additional Delta domestic mainline aircrafts. So Viastat said Tuesday that it will offer its in-flight connectivity service to more than 230 additional Delta Airlines domestic mainline narrow-body aircraft. That was a catalyst there. So that's just a vaccination regulation for the pilots. But nonetheless, American Airlines and Delta doing decent today. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're definitely seeing a bit of a gap up here on the day. And Delta has also been kind of like in this consolidation pattern where we have just traded, sideways for the most part. So this has been kind of like the range for Delta as well, where we continue to make these sort of lower lows and these lower highs as well. So, we're still in this range bout. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, we could make an argument that we are forming some type of a bull flag here for Delta, because on the weekly chart, I mean, this is just poised for a breakout at this point. I mean, if you look at these trend lines, if I were to draw one, trending up, we're validating every time we're bouncing off the lows here, boom, boom, boom. And this is a prior run-up. So this is the prior run-up for Delta, where we pushed up from lows of, $37 all the way to highs of 52, forming a bull flag. And if we can get a breakout over this level, that would be a continuation for Delta as well, because on the weekly chart we're bouncing off that 21 EMA. So if I remove all these trend lines, the 21 EMA, the white line you guys see on the chart, that's the perfect validation of that level, along with us forming a bull flag So potential breakout could be at play here for Delta Airlines, considering that the RSI and the MACD are also showing signs of some uptrend here. And if you get a bullish crossover for the MACD as well, the RSI is still a little bit elevated, so I'd be a little bit cautious there on the weekly chart, but definitely in my opinion forming some type of a bull flag. So keep a close eye at $45 as a support for Delta, aligned with that 21 EMA on the weeklies, all the way as low as $42 as another support. And resistance, I would say, is going to stay put at close to 48.50, kind of wherever this lower high falls inside this downtrending channel for Delta, right? So that's going to be sitting roughly at close to 48.50 levels. So this lower high, wherever that falls for Delta Airlines. So a breakout over this level is going to be big. So Delta 38.50 is going to be the level. All right, last stock on the list, we've got Airbnb. That's going to be ticker symbol ABNB. So Airbnb has definitely come down substantially from the highs, right? So let me see if it was actually forming some type of a negative divergence there. So there was some bearish divergence. You'll notice that as soon as we start making these higher highs, a lot of divergence for the RSI, right? We continue to kind of pull back as we are just trading sideways here for Airbnb. So there was some bearish divergence, and I could also see some type of a head and shoulders pattern here, with the neckline right alongside here at close to, I want to say, 167. And then, yeah, we just broke it down. As soon as we did, there's a lot of selling pressure came in. We flushed all the way down to that level. And now we're just like hovering around 130. This should have been like a reopening play. Like, we would expect this stock to go up as the economy reopens back up. But instead, we're seeing the exact opposite. Airbnb unveils more than 100 service upgrades. Alright, so that makes sense. Expiry of lockup agreements outlined in December 2020 IPO. So shares fell by 6% to 132 in the final stretch of trading Monday out of the expiration of lockup agreements and market standoff agreements outlined in the company's prospectus. So we could see some insider sell-offs and some offloading of these shares. AMC is going crazy. Let's take a look. Up over 7.97, almost 8%. Look at that. Just shy of $15 per share. We are just off the highs from all-time highs of close to $20. And it's surprising that we're still moving up on relatively lower volume when you compare that with the initial squeeze that we had for AMC. We were trading all the way to highs of like $20, but the volume, I think it was like over 1 billion shares traded. So 1.2 billion shares traded on January 27th for AMC. That was incredible. And then the most volume traded, and then kind of died down. But now we're up over 7.7% once again. 2 really strong days for AMC. Yesterday was up over 13%. It's up another 7% today. So 2 really strong day today for AMC. But nonetheless, let's take a look at some of the EV stocks. So NIO up over 2.5%. And we got Tesla that's roughly down, pretty much flat on the day. And the NASDAQ continuing on this sell-off. So create an alert below 332. There we go. We just made a low of the day for S&P, and we just turned a red for the S&P 500. All right, so very quickly, I'm going to add those levels for Airbnb. So support at 130 for Airbnb. That's going to be the level to watch. And resistance at close to 150. 147, kind of aligned with that 21 EMA. You guys see on the chart? Time to buy some VTI or SPY then. Yes, so SPY, again, S&P 500 mirroring that. Definitely seeing a bit of a pullback here. So JP Morgan to sponsor Robinhood Investor Conference. Do you guys think that Robinhood is actually potentially going to get bought out by some bigger brokerage or bank, investment bank or something like that to get access to the millions of users that they have? And so my QQQ puts are going to print money. All right, so Couple more stocks. If you guys have any suggestions, any recommendations, we'll kind of break that down very quickly. Also, make sure that you guys drop a like. It really helps out the channel. Right now we have 98 likes with 300 people watching. Let's see if we can get to at least 200 likes. So Shopify, seeing that weakness there. So yep, that's the resistance we talked about at 1290. Not quite at 1290 we retested. We tested as a 1280, but we're still getting that weakness. It's kind of like clockwork for Shopify at this point, right? Every time we get up to 1290, except for the exception of this one, when we saw a breakout prior to the earnings in February, we've just gotten rejected at those levels. Square is a good one. We haven't gone over Square. Square 215 is the resistance on the day, so that's the level that I would be watching very closely to see if we actually get a breakout over that level. We are up over 2.5%, but for Square, support at 200, resistance at $215 to watch. June 3rd, ChargePoint quarter results are due. Let's see where ChargePoint is trading. Still, making these lower highs and lower lows. Not quite lower lows yet, but horizontal lows. But we're kind of curling back down, right? With the 50 EMA rejection there, down about 1.2%. $19 is going to be the support level. Let's see if we can actually find. This was back in March. Loss widens, revenue declines. So in Q4, they actually did revenues of $42.4 million, down from $43 million a year earlier. Still beat expectations, analyst expectations. So year over year, it was down a little bit. So revenue declined, but Q4 loss was $5.29 per share, compared with $3.05 loss in the same time last year. So they were down in net income. So EPS, they were down, revenue, they were down year over year, but they still beat expectations. And looking ahead, ChargePoint expects fiscal Q1 revenue $35 million to $40 million. That's the expectations that they are also going to be reporting on June 3rd, is what somebody mentioned. And analysts forecast 35.7 million. And for the full year, fiscal year 2022, the company anticipates revenue of just about 200 to 205 million US dollars. This compares with 146.5 million reported in the full fiscal year 2021. So we're still going to see a jump of, close to $50 million on 146 million. That's going to be a little bit over 30% growth, I believe, for the company year over year. Not bad, considering they are very, very capex intensive as they build out these charging stations across the world. So the only thing is that they need to increase those revenues, right? They need to increase those revenues to get to a much higher valuation in the future. All right, so we're seeing more red with AMC now up over 8.6%. And Harry, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you always. Thank you, and I appreciate you stopping by and checking out the analysis. The whole point of this is to go over as many stocks in as little time as possible for all of you guys, so that we can get a good understanding on not only the macros, what inflation figures look like, interest rates, but also kind of like the fundamentals and technicals of individual stocks as well that you guys really enjoy investing in. So Enphase Energy, so ChargePoint, keep it close at 1950 levels, and the resistance is going to stay put at 31.86, close to $32. We're still pretty range bound, so getting rejected at those moving averages. So support output at close to 1960s, and the resistance we're going to be watching at close to 23.25, kind of aligned with those moving averages. Enphase Energy, I feel like still undervalued, in my opinion. $130 support, $150 resistance, easily over $200 stock, in my opinion. Profitable company, higher margins in the solar space, not only benefits from this EV revolution, but also benefits from the infrastructure bill. So forward multiples are also reasonable for the company, considering the sell-off that we saw all the way down to lows of 108. So it's not one of those buying moments where, unless you're already in the stock, I would stay in the stock. If it comes down below 100, then that's would be like a really aggressive buying opportunity. So right now it's kind of like holding period for Enphase Energy as well. If it comes down below 130, maybe you can nibble in a little bit, considering that you've done the research and analysis as well. So Dahi Kim, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Dipinder saying, really appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for joining in. Things are getting better in India, so thank you so much for the prayers. And yeah, things are getting better. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we get through this by the end of this year. Yeah, my hair is just getting way too long. It's never been this long. Somebody even commented during the market update, is like, your hair is getting way too long, because I haven't left the house in over 3 months because of the pandemic, and it's just getting way too, never had this long of a hair. And if I do it myself, I cut my hair, probably I'll screw it up. But Enphase Energy, keep a close eye at $130, resistance at 150 for Enphase. So, all right, a few more stocks. I got into Enphase at 205. So $205 is going to be all the way over here. It's actually not bad. Of course, it's near the all-time highs, but over the long term, this is easily a stock that's trading back over 200. So I would say do some more research, some more analysis on the stock to really understand what the future looks like for Enphase Energy. Look into the fundamentals, look into the earnings reports, and kind of build your conviction there. And you can always kind of dollar cost average on this position and bring it down to below 150, below $130 if it ever gets down there. So definitely, it's not the worst thing in the world, I would say. Of course, holding on, it's all a matter of what stocks you're holding on to when you are in the red. If you are holding on to strong companies that have great balance sheets, that have the potential to generate a lot of cash flow, earnings potential in the future, they will always do well despite, I would say, the economic backdrop that we have with inflationary issues, a lot of different things. Of course, in the short term, all of that matters, right? We can't ignore, these spikes in inflation, these spikes in the VIX. That is what's driving the markets today, but that's not what's going to drive these individual companies a year from now or 2 years from now. Because I was talking about this to somebody else, is that when you look at the stock market right now, it's like as a whole, collectively, we're going in the same direction. None of these stocks are moving individually based on what they're actually doing fundamentally. Like when you look at companies like NEO that are doing great with the fundamental business that they have, the underlying company remains strong, but it's just kind of like the tide of the wave. It's like everything's moving in the same direction. The NASDAQ has a red day, all tech stocks have a red day, despite what the underlying business is doing for these companies. Caddy, make sure you go outside and get some fresh air. Yes, that's a great point. I have done that, and I need to do that more consistently as well. So I'll definitely keep that in mind. So thank you so much for reminding me about that. So Ravi says bought Matic, MATIC. Is this a cryptocurrency or is this a stock? I'm not sure if this is actually a cryptocurrency. So for SPCE, again, these are not buy or sell, like entry or exit points, so to speak, but these are more so like support resistance levels. So I hope you guys understand that as well. And for Virgin Galactic, we have support levels at 21 and 25.50 and resistance at 27.60 for that stock. For Matic, I'm not sure how you say that, but maybe I should take a look. So it's up over 2.8%. Hopefully I'm looking at the right thing here, trading at $1.80 per coin. I want to say, hopefully this is a coin. But strong uptrend here. Like this has just been on a crazy rally coming in from January 2021. I mean, this thing has moved up 14,000%. So 14,000% is quite a bit of a rally here, but definitely we're seeing some more upward momentum and a validation on the daily chart from that daily, the 21 EMA and the 50 EMA. So if cryptocurrencies continue to kind of hold up, and it's kind of strange because a lot of other currencies are actually down, like Bitcoin is down, Ethereum is down, Dogecoin is down, and a lot of these altcoins are actually moving higher. So it just goes to show that a lot of volume's coming in. But I just want to reiterate and mention to you guys that be mindful of these projects and who the developers are, and do some more research, and please be very careful with these altcoins, because I know that there's a lot of scams going on, and and they can basically kind of draw a lot of capital, and these projects can be non-existent in a few weeks or a few months. So be very mindful and be very careful. Only invest in these altcoins if you are willing to like lose the investment, so to speak. I know it sounds very like orthodox, but there's a lot of projects out there that are basically vanishing in a few weeks. Like I'm reading about it, I'm seeing it all over the place. So be very careful with these, right? So NASDAQ still hovering around low of days. EV charging stocks, so we've already gone over ChargePoint, we've already gone over a lot of different companies as well, but NEO down about up 2%, but we're still getting a little bit of a pullback, and a lot of stocks actually turned red, with XPeng down up over 1.3%, Blink Charging and GM are only up over 1% each. Alright guys, but I'm actually going to end the live stream here, so I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video. These right here are all going to be the support resistance levels that I am going to be posting over at our Discord. And again, if you guys want to get access to that, all the links are going to be down in the description below. I don't really want to mention it again and again, but thank you so much for joining, you guys. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you guys. So thank you so much for joining in. Every live stream, make sure that you comment stocks, and I will go over it. We'll kind of add this to the notepad. The more research we do, the better it is for everyone, so that we can share ideas and kind of help each other out. I know markets can be tough sometimes, but we are here building a strong community for each other to support every single day. So I hope you guys have a great day. Markets pushing higher, so maybe I go to bed and the markets will push higher and close green. As always, happy investing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and wish you guys all the best.